Okay, here we are. We're live on Facebook. We're in the Zoom. We got guests in the group chat, and we got people watching us on Facebook Live. We're talking to Oriana Guevara. This is an amazing lady. She is a founder of iThrive Institute. She's a coach and a speaker with 16 years of professional experience in human resources and organizational development. And her goal really today is to help us discuss how to balance our mental health. Also, we have Mrs. Suzie Suttles. This woman also amazing, certified in spiritual energy as a healer and a holistic therapist. She's out there in Durham. Oriana's here in Central Florida with me. And I felt this was an important topic for us to discuss today because, you know, with coronavirus and so much death and police brutality and riots and issues like this, you know, here we are just basically kind of struggling with what to share, what not to share, how much to share, how much to read, how much to ingest. And I just felt it was an important topic for us to discuss because here we are. We have families and jobs and daily activities and personal care that we need to handle. How do you balance? How do you know, there's so much going on in the world. What do you share? How many, and then also, how do you also, as you ingest this information, how do you deal with it? Because I know it's probably making people depressed and anxious and there's just, there just seems to be no balance right now. It seems to be nowhere to, I don't know how to say it any better, but there's just no normalcy anymore. Every day we're seeing something that's so shocking, like, my God, I can't believe that this just happened. I can't believe that this just happened. So I will introduce Miss Oriana. Please, I will unmute you so that you could just introduce yourself, tell us more about yourself, and I'm unmuting you so that you could go ahead and just share a little bit about yourself. We know you're from Central Florida.
Thank you. Yes, so I'm located in Central Florida, but I work with clients all over the nation. And what I do is I do life coaching. I support people with personal relationship coaching, personal performance, self-leadership. And so it's an important conversation on how to balance social media use and self-care right now, because I think you're so right, Erica, right? Every day we think there's no possible way that our current circumstances could get any worse. And then, you realize it can get worse, right? Or it's, at least it feels that way. It seems that way. So the conversation about how to cope is super important. And one of the things I see very common in my clients lately is an actual, a struggle, questions, a lot of questions, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear, a lot of concern, about where do we go from here, and how to do that in a way that makes sense for them and their families.
Right. Miss Susie, I'll go ahead and unmute you. You're a spiritual healer. Tell us where you are, what you do, why do you do it?
So hey everybody, my name is Suzie Suttles, and I am a self-love healing coach, and I do spiritual energy healing, which is in the same realm as Oriana. I've been practicing I've been on this self-love healing journey for about 10 years now, but I've been practicing the self-love and the spiritual energy healing for about the past 5 years. But I found that when we learn how to balance our energies, because in my opinion, everything is energy. What's going on right now in our world is nothing more than healing. And I know this from my personal experience, because when I went through my own healing journey, there was dark times. There were things that were coming up like hate and anger and all of these other emotions that I had suppressed for so many years. And that's what our nation has done. We have suppressed hate. We have hidden hate beneath the surface. And so now, because we have this collective of people that are practicing love and self-love and coaching and self-care, it's raising that vibration and bringing all of that stuff to the surface for final purging, for healing. So from an energy standpoint, you know, we have the power over ourselves. There is nothing outside of us that has power over us. And when we learn to harness our divine God energy that's already inside of us, we learn how to create a healthy balance of our energies. And then that allows us to practice self-care, you know, when these circumstances do come about. It teaches you how to, you know, say no to social media, or, you know, not to engage, or not to allow someone else to, for you to react in a negative way. You no longer allow someone else's actions to have power over you, because your spiritual energy healing and the love of yourself has allowed you to harness your own power. So no one outside of you can actually draw you out of that energy space.
Yeah, that's such a great point, Erica, is the difference between reacting and responding, right? And right now we're in an era where we are consistently being pushed or placed in this position where we feel reactionary because the nervous system has been activated. We're in a fight, flight, or freeze mode, right? Like you're already on the edge of that. And then the moment that you feel like you're coming back out of that, right? Like you're coming back into homeostasis, then something pushes you again, right? So this is really a time to really look within and sit in that space, right? Be with that, whatever that is, and go like, why am I feeling reactionary right now? Why am I feeling so angry right now? Or why am I feeling so sad? Right? Just get in touch with whatever that feeling is. What I find that a lot of people are experiencing is a what they're describing as the essentially, right? Like the pain points associated with being in a resistant energy state. That's what they're experiencing, but they can't necessarily articulate or put a word to that feeling of what the resistance is being created by, right? They just know, like, I just feel really bad. So they can make like these general statements about not feeling well, or not feeling how they used to, or feeling stuck, right? Is a common way that it's described, but not necessarily associating that with a feeling or an emotion word, right? Like sad, frustrated, angry, you know, even rage, whatever that might be. But when we actually can sit with that, be with that feeling, and recognize like, oh yeah, this is my feeling, this is fear, you know, and or this is sadness, or this is associated, and then you can figure out what it's associated with, right? But I agree with you completely. Controlling what we allow to kind of like penetrate that energetic wall is it's a time right now where we need to be super conscious and mindful of that, of what we allow in.
Self-awareness.
Yeah.
And I feel, you know, that's not just now. This is throughout life. A lot of people are very reactive, or angry or upset, and they respond and you don't know why, but definitely becoming self-aware, trying to figure out and get in touch with that point, that's very important. So, you know, now you throw this on with the stress of life of, hey, I don't even know if my job is opening back up. A friend of mine just told me his job, they're not going to open back up till 2021.
Wow.
So I feel like everything that's happened to us right now is just a perfect storm for all the riots and anxiety that we have, because we were already trapped at home, not knowing when y'all gonna let us out the house. So tell us some things you could do. You know, first, let's just deal with the uncertainty of being faced with an epidemic, or a pandemic, as they call it. Being faced with a pandemic, that creates a lot of fear. Am I gonna live? Am I gonna die? And, you know, I've seen, you know, pretty much people kind of started to feel suicidal
Mhm.
You know, how do we deal with that?
I just want to really piggyback on Oriana and just say that, you know, a lot of people don't know how to feel right now, because for so many years, we have been told to suppress those emotions. So nobody knows really how to articulate how they're really feeling, because a lot of it is fear energy, because this is unknown to everyone. So there's a lot of fear that is running rampant, and though, you know, that fear energy brings up feelings of anger and rage and depression and sadness, and people cannot fully articulate that because we've been told for so many years not to. So now they're struggling with how they really feel. And so my suggestion is, like Ariana said, feel whatever it is that you're feeling. Don't take it out on other people, because you are allowed to feel your emotions. You are allowed to feel safe with your emotions. Your emotions are valid. Everything that you are feeling right now is valid. So don't ever you know, be harsh on yourself saying, oh, well, I shouldn't be sad. Yes, you should. We don't know, you know, this is all new to all of us. So feel everything that you are feeling. Just don't take that out on someone else.
Right. I think I want to say also, like, even before any of this happened, excessive social media use was already known and shown to be detrimental.
Yeah.
Right. Detrimental to the psyche, detrimental to our mental health. Excessive social media use was actually correlated with increased rates of anxiety and depression for a very long time, in both men and women, and juveniles, children as well. It was correlated directly with experiences where people had where they were becoming or feeling more and more disconnected from real life, more and more disconnected from real relationships, and even more disconnected from their ability to actually like experience connection, right? Like this social media tool that at some point in time, right, I think it was perceived as this thing that would connect us more. And in some ways it did, right? Like it let you remain at some like, maybe like at least at a very basic surface level type of connection with people that were maybe at the furthest circles of your acquaintances. But as time has gone on, what we realize is that when people utilize social media excessively, right, they compare themselves to other people. It starts to replace in-person interactions. It leads to lower quality social connections, more shallow relationships rather than depth in our relationships, more miscommunication than what we experience when we have face-to-face interactions. And then more negative interactions on the platforms, which is actually correlated with more anxiety and depression. So while social media can be utilized as a tool to connect and build relationship capital and capacity in a very like rapid way, it can also be used to kind of like destroy that and knock that down. As we know that there's people that utilize social media for the specific reason of going in and like pinpointing people who have opposing views that they do and trolling them or knocking them down or just making nasty comments or attempting to engage in a debate, right? And like, while social media can be used as an educational tool or like a tool to find knowledge or to find people that have a similar thought process on a topic, and or to even like listen to what people with a different way of thinking are saying about a particular subject matter, it can also be used negatively to kind of like target those people, go find them and go try to start arguments with them, right? Like I've never seen anybody actually change their fundamental belief system based on an argument that occurred on the social media or a debate on a social media thread, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, the tool itself, which can be used for good, has been heavily misused in these ways. And I think, you know, it's a matter of kind of stepping back and going like, okay, wait a minute. Would I interact with this person in this way if they were standing in front of me?
Right.
And if the answer to that question is no, why are we doing it when we're in a screen, right? Kind of like behind the veil of protection of the screen, right? And if is that an integrity for you, right? Further, right? Like if the answer to that is that it's not an integrity, then okay, let's self-examine if that is an integrity for you and you think that that's a quality use of your time, right? Like examine that too. and see if there's anything else that might be of better use, better quality of your time, and also might create an opportunity for unity, for healing, for relationship building, right? Rather than going in and like crashing, kind of using social media as an opportunity to like crash into people and oppose their views vehemently.
Well, and then too, here we are being, a lot of people not at work, more people sitting at home with more time on their hands than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some things you would suggest as far as your time limits?
That's a good question. Before I started the self-love healing, I would just totally deactivate my profile to take a break. And whether that was like a week or a month, or I think the longest was like 3 months that I did it for. But just to get out of that space. Because just like Oriana said, it does have a tendency for you to compare your life, for you to engage in conversation. It's like passive aggressive behavior. People post stuff and automatically you feel like it's directed towards you, know. So you sometimes it's a lot of passive aggressive, behavior that is coming up, but my thing is really time management. You really do have to learn how to manage your time, prioritize your time, to get to that point where you don't need to be on social media. Like social media is great. It really is. Like Oriana said, it's great for connecting, with friends, like connecting with you. You're in Florida, I'm here in Greensboro, connecting with family members who may be out of state, friends from high school, it's great as a connection in that way. But I also agree with her when she says that we are very disconnected because we don't know how to have normal conversations. We don't know how to sit down with each other and actually build friendships and relationships again like we used to before we had social media. People actually sat down and talked with each other face to face. There was not all this texting and able to click in an instant, and that's a lot of reasons for a lot of instant relationships and no depth to relationships, because we're not taking time to actually get to know, hey, and it might sound stupid, what's your favorite color? Like, what's your favorite food? Yeah, it might sound stupid now, but that's how you get to know a person. Like, what are your favorites? What are the things that you don't like? What are some of your pet peeves? Like, get to genuinely know a person and create, a stable relationship. So, I mean, when you have all this instantaneous stuff, it's easy to just fall into that pattern. And I think, a great way is to really try your best to limit yourself, even if that means to deactivate your profile, whether it be 2 days or 3 days or a month. Once you get into that habit, anything that you do repetitiously creates a habit. So once you get into that habit and start seeing how beneficial it is for you to disconnect from that energy space, then you'll realize the benefits, the amazing benefits that come from it. And then you'll start to manage your time a little bit more efficiently when you are on social media. And I know a lot of people seem to think, oh, if I'm not constantly posting about my business, because I know a lot of people use it for their business. And they may often feel like, if I'm not constantly posting, then people are not going to see me. Sometimes it's best for people not to see you for about a month. Let them miss you. Let them miss what you are saying. So then when you come back on and you come back on with something powerful, they like, oh my goodness, she back, let engage that way. Give them a break sometimes.
Right. I love that. I'm going to learn how to disengage my Facebook. Deactivate is what that's called?
It's just deactivate. Yeah, you just go on and deactivate. You can say for 7 days, and then they'll say like, we'll automatically put you back on, and you can say, no, I'll log back on when I'm ready. because Facebook will automatically log you back on if you say 7 days. There are other options for you to do it, but it's under your manage your accounts, I believe it is, and you can just deactivate. And like I said, start with a couple of days. You know, if you do 1 day, if you then move it up to 2 days, then move it up to 3 until you get to a week. And then once you do a week, do 2 weeks, you know, but it really does have an amazing benefit. And I found that when I disconnected from social media, I connected more with the people around me.
That's very interesting. I'm in a unique spot. I am one of those people that does the thing with my business online. So I probably won't take 7 days off unless I go on vacation at some point. I've kind of been somewhat of a workaholic, but you know what I've noticed is how my energy, like I gave myself, especially when all of the riots and the social gatherings started happening, I was giving myself to people so much that I slept for, I'm not shitting you, 2.5 days. I slept, I'm a person who sleeps 5 to 6 hours a night. I slept 13.5 hours. I think it would have been Friday, and then 12.5 on Saturday. And yesterday I slept normally and then took a nap, but it's like, oh my God. It's like, I was so stressed out because it's like, I truly believe that love is the answer to everything. So when I see, and I know this to some people would sound arrogant who don't know me, but when I see my beautiful humans doing anything that creates anything other than oneness, it's like, fuck, it's like stressful. I'm like, no, love is the answer. We must come together, period. You know, that I live that, I be that. The name of my business is that, Strength Through Love. But it's like, I was bringing people, you know, helping them to connect with that space. But in doing that, I didn't connect with that space enough myself, you know, for me. Yeah. So my body wanted to sleep, and I did exactly that.
Yeah. Because you know, I love that you're on here, because I actually specialize in working with men, because men do not take enough time for themselves. They don't take a break for self-care and self-love, because guess what? Society told you guys that you got to be the provider and the protector. But how can you be the provider and the protector if you are not taking care of numero uno? You have to set that time aside for yourself, because as you can see, you were filled with all of that great energy and you poured it out. And guess what? You didn't go back to fill yourself up. So you were drained. You drained yourself of all of your life force energy. So you have to make sure that you are taking your self-care time. And that's what I do before I even engage in social media. The first thing I do in the morning is take my self-care time. And I don't care what that is. Even if it's just going outside and putting your feet in the dirt, or just going out on the patio, the porch, whatever it is that you have, and going out and spending 15, 20, 30 minutes out there in nothing but solitude. You need that. You men deserve that. You cannot care for your families, your spouses, your children, yourself, unless you have that to pour out. You have to fill yourself up first, you know, and a lot of times, you know, men don't, yes, women always are more susceptible to do that. Men don't think that they deserve that, but you guys deserve that so much, especially if that is your business too. You can't pour out to your clients if you're constantly drained. So
true. So true. I do a good job of staying in my consciousness. Like I make my decisions from moments of strength and clarity. So I'm like, I generally speaking, I'm not saying, I'm not going to tell you I'm not perfect, because I do believe that all people are perfect, in my opinion.
Right, yeah, I have my moments too.
All people are perfect. That's my opinion.
Yeah,
that's where I come from.
And that's the thing. Sometimes people are seeking perfection, and no, you don't have to be perfect. You know, allow yourself those days to say no. You know, no, I'm going to take a break from social media for about 3 days. You know. Because even in your business, I understand, you know, it's, you know, that, you know, you don't want your business, especially in this time, you know, you feel like you need those clients. But when you're, you know, when you're in that energy space of filling yourself up, the universe will provide. The universe will provide. Any clients that you missed out on those 3 days, those 7 days, you will get them back. You will get them back, I promise, but take the time for yourself.
Yeah, that's so good. It's so necessary. And I'm finding that things are kind of leveling for me and the people that are in my life directly as well. So I think some of that is going to naturally level itself. Because truthfully, I really do. It's like, I'm one of these people, when I get that deep connection and I know that and it's different. Like some coaching calls are more draining than others as well. Like sometimes you feel like you're in a cage match with someone's pattern for 40 minutes before you get anywhere. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, there's some of that, the like high resistance people, but it's more often than not. And by that, I mean, maybe 85% of the time, I actually feel charged from helping people, like shifting people's lives. I'm like, yeah, the universe has chosen me for this, and I just get to be me and move it forward that way. But lately it's been like all of the coaching calls have been the heavier stuff, like all of them, 100%. So, you know, people have not, what I'm seeing with everyone is we project outwardly how we feel about ourselves. So your relationship with everything is your relationship with yourself, and all you're really doing is showing everyone how you feel. Absolutely. And it's like, shit, man, I'm confused. I think empathy is thrown around way too much these days. Like, you can't empathize truly with another person. I can't know what it's like to be the little dude that got beaten up in the bathroom. I punched the bully in the head when I was a kid, you know, but I can love him harder than he's ever been loved before. And love asks questions. And ego tells stories, and so many people, like Oriana was saying earlier, how they go on. This is what I notice in myself, because sometimes I go into this, like, I feel like kind of, I'm not even, like, part of me wants to defend love. Like, I see these people that have been through like One World Academy, and they teach oneness and intelligent thinking versus unintelligent thinking. And they're literally like certified blessers. They've been through all the Tony Robbins stuff, landmark people, all these people. And they're coming on and they're talking about all this division, and we hate this and we must do this and all this other stuff. I'm like, you know, I'm blocking this person and blocking this person. And I'm just like, I notice a few things. One is anything that's division of people is not the answer for me. So I feel like I'm directly, I don't know how many of you guys have done Course in Miracles, but it's like real lifetime examples of fear versus love. And I do that on a micro level inside of my own heart. If I find myself wanting to project, like, defend love is how my ego is referencing it, you know, and that's what my ego wants to do when I get into those spaces. But, you know, truly there's a part of my ego that's like, hey, you guys need to feel the way that I feel, and I'm projecting that. And I notice that I won't get onto the keyboard like that, because I know that my inner child is seeking significance. When I'm coming from a place of significance and certainty, I'm not going to be coming from as deeply rooted a place of love. And that's what I see when people are coming together and they're trying to, like the arguments like Oriana was talking about. It's like, you know, if you're not coming from love, that's like the deepest truth. We're all in truth when we're projecting too. We're in truth from a space of anger. That's truth as perceived by the inner child, you know. But, you know, to me, love is truth. And I set alarms every hour to keep me in touch with that. So that I wanted to say that, but I couldn't figure out the technology. So I was like 15 minutes late getting on here. But I set alarms every single hour where I check in with myself to make sure I'm loving on the humans and loving on myself, because I know that anytime I feel anything other than love, I get to take a look internally. And that's been the biggest ally for me, is setting those alarms every hour throughout the day.
That's great, Rocky. I love that you bring up, and Rocky and I are close friends, everybody, like we've known each other for a few years now. But one of the things that is just a very practical strategy, right? Set an alarm. You know, how long have you been working? How long have you been on your computer? How long have you been on social media specifically? How long have you been watching television and watching the news, right? Like we must set limits on that, because protecting your energy field is super important. Anytime that your energy is out of balance, you're going to feel that somewhere in your body, right? And so being mindful of like, what does it feel like in my body when my energy is out of balance, right? For me personally, because I've done the work to look for it in my body, right? Like when I'm feeling that kind of like tight energy, I look and I notice I'm breathing really shallow. My chest feels tight, right? And my shoulders are like this, right? Or like in some other way, like my muscles are tight, you know? So what do I need in that moment? Like, do I need movement? Do I need to get up? Do I need to turn this thing off that I'm watching, right? Do I need to go shower? Do I need to go for a walk? Like, do I need food? Do I need to hydrate myself? Like, meeting your needs right now. I think most of the people on the call that I see on here are in some kind of healing or coaching, support, helping profession, or otherwise that I know of, like you're supporting a family. So, you know, it's super important for all of us who are in a helping profession. And right now we are being called to show up in the world in a very powerful way. We must like 10x our self-care. If our self-care was super important before any of this stuff started going down, right? Let's just think about February. February feels like it was like we were in heaven back then, right? Like if we had to 10x our self-care back then and it was that important, like I want you to like multiply that by 100 now, right? Like you need to be so present and so full for yourself right now and take such good care of yourself, because if you are not doing that, you cannot be in service to other people.
Yes.
For one, the quality of your service is going to struggle because your self-love is low at that point, right? Like we're getting now into poor self-care behaviors can become self-abuse, can become a lot of things that are detrimental to your energy. So you must look at your value system. Like you have to value protecting your energy so much. And so that's such a high level that you are willing to cancel, reschedule, walk away from anything in order to protect
exactly
that.
What I did. Yes.
Right. And like consider anything that comes into your senses, whether that's your eyes, your ears, your mouth, like your skin, like in whatever way anything is coming into you, into your psyche, it is going to have an impact on your energy level. Absolutely. Right. And if you look at your phone, right, I have iPhone, so iPhone actually sends me a report of how much time I've spent on my phone per day. And sometimes that hour like makes me want to cry, right? Because I'm like, how in the world did I spend that much time on my phone today, particularly on social media today, right? But when I sit back and reflect, I'm like, oh yeah, I could see that, right? Whether that was because I was creating content or because I went down a rabbit hole in some kind of news cycle, right? Like we got to step back and look at this stuff and honestly check yourself.
Yes.
Because who else is going to check you if you're not checking you? It's personal responsibility.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Protect your energy, set time limits, set alarms, set your phone up to give you a report so that you can become aware of what's going on. And then do that internal scan in your body when you're feeling low energy, right? Where do you feel it in your body? And what type of self-care do you need to do to address that feeling in your body and relieve it, right? So that you can come back to a place of love and come back to the place where you can be in service to people, and make that absolutely non-negotiable.
Yes.
Non-negotiable, right? I would also say, you know, besides, you know, when you search for it, being with it, taking care of it, and this will be my last point, and then I'll turn it over to Susie or Erica, who might want to make some more practical points. Watch your words. Watch your words. Watch the way that you talk to yourself, but also watch the way that you talk to other people. Watch the things that you say out loud, right? If anybody who's here, and I think there's a few people here who have some background or understanding of like consciousness and manifestation, then you know that our words have the power to bring manifestation right into life, into reality, right? And so if we are, I understand that there's movements and protests and calls for justice happening, right? But to me, in my belief system, justice and love are the same thing, right? So let's call for justice, let's call for love. But when we constantly repeat things like no peace, no justice, I can't breathe, you will manifest in your life no peace, no justice, I can't breathe, right? And I get that's like, I get that is something that right now, like some people will understand, some people might not understand, but please, like, if you read anything about manifestation, about the power of the word, you will see that what we speak we bring into our truth, we bring into our belief system, and then we bring that into reality. So instead of saying I can't breathe, say I can breathe.
Yeah.
Right.
I love that so much, Oriana.
Right. Say bring peace. We want peace. We want justice.
Yes.
We want love. We talk about everything we want to manifest if we want to bring that into life.
And definitely focus on is what you get. So, you know, I had to think of that for myself of if all I'm focusing on is police videos and brutality, then here I was literally starting to feel scared to go outside and to drive in traffic. And I the other day I said, oh my God, everybody's outside. You know, I thought everybody was inside on Facebook with me. So it's like, no, they're not. They're actually outside and everybody's busy and Walmart is packed and everybody's at the line at Chick-fil-A. And I was like, you're not scared. Like, you're not scared, you know? And I'm not going to lie to you. You know, someone came to cut my grass, and this black white thing is so serious that you don't know if you can say hello to people. Like you get to feel, because you're so focused on this, like you don't know if you can speak and say hello to someone.
Say it anyway.
Yeah.
Even if they don't,
absolutely.
If they
need to the point where
come back, say it anyway, because it has nothing to do with them and everything to do with your energy. Because that gets you out of that space of fear. Even if they do not speak back, just say hello. I have had people today who have not answered my questions, who have not said hello, but I'm going to say hello anyway, because it gets you in the space of love, not them. Gets you out of that space of fear, because yes, fear is the all prevailing energy that is going on right now, but it's coming up for healing. So as long as you can keep yourself balanced and grounded in the energy of love, continue to pour that out to everyone, regardless.
And that's what I had to do. I started taking time with the people at the cashier.
Good.
And not just saying hi, but how is your day?
Yes.
And really starting to
mean it.
Like,
yes.
I mean, this was already true. People were already suffering. People were
right. People were already in fear.
Already suffering.
Yes. So as long as because your energy is putting that out into the world. So as long as you can stay in that energy, it doesn't matter what energy space they're in. But I also wanted to just say what Oriana said about, you know, it's all different for all of us. All of how we prioritize things, how we balance things. My balance is not the same as someone else's balance. You know, the phone thing might work great for you guys. The deactivating thing might work great for me, but I'm a firm believer that everyone on this planet has something to teach us. Everyone. We have something to learn from every single person. So, you know what? Maybe it is putting the timer on, you know, to make sure I'm checking in, you know, like, but you'll never know until you start trying it. And then if it doesn't work for you, then go back to what, you know, try something else, or, you know, listen to what Rocky said, or what Oriana said, or what I said, or what whoever, you know, try everything. As long as it gets you in that space of higher vibrational, loving energy to where you're just pouring it out into the world. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I love some of the comments coming in. Will says perfect isn't required nor necessary. Absolutely, Will, right? Like we don't need to be perfect. We just, you know, and it doesn't take perfection to love others. You need to be authentic.
My phraseology is different with that. I feel like authenticity is perfect. Like that's how we learn. Yes, that's how we learn.
Because
that's how we learn to love.
I'm so imperfectly perfect.
Yes. Yeah, I love this great comment.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. I love how everybody's vibing. Joseph says, fear is a poison.
Yes.
Be a healer, be the light. The world is full of darkness. Make it light. Yes, that's what we're here for. If you're on this call, you are a healer and you are a bringer of love and justice. That's what attracted you to come here in the first place.
Absolutely.
Idalia, she says, there's a lack of personal responsibility this day and age. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think if everybody took personal responsibility for the role that they play in the world, in either adding value and adding positive, affirming meaning and love into the world, and by doing that first for themselves, this would be a really different environment and world that we live in.
Yeah.
So I
So good, Oriana.
So many of us want to stay in the victim role. And it's, you know, and I was telling my mom this today, is that, you know, I'm not perfect, and I don't claim to be perfect. So when I do find myself in judgment of another, I look and say, hey, something's still in me that needs to be called attention to. Because why am I judging that person when I know absolutely nothing about them? They could be the greatest person on this earth, but there's still something that's in me that is calling my attention to that. And also when Rocky said that, you know, you block people, I used to do that all the time, but I found that a lot of that energy now is actually helping me to heal, because if it's still triggering you, still triggering something in you, then that means that's something that you gotta work out within yourself. It's still something in that child that is still craving or lacking, feels like they're lacking that's calling your attention to it. And you know, it's so easy for us to say it because of someone else. But when we take personal inventory of the energy that we're putting out into the world, then it makes us a lot more conscious, and we are more, you know, we are in that space of, wait a minute, if I react on that level, you know, what energy am I going to receive back? You know, you're going to receive back that negative energy. So, you know, just taking a step back and saying, hey, wait a minute, hold on, let me catch my breath. Let me come back, you know, let me come from a different energy space is very important, or just not responding at all sometimes.
Yeah, I mean,
like, there's a little bit of this. When you make a post, you're making a post. Do you need to make that post?
Right.
So not only do you need to respond, but do you need to make that post?
Right. What need are you meeting by making that post? Am I meeting my need for love and connection? Or am I meeting my need for significance?
Right.
Am I talking down to someone, or am I connecting with someone?
That was the next thing I was going to say, because then there's people who are responding with sarcasm. So here we got somebody coming on your page. Like one, I find myself officiating sometimes. I'm like, you know, if that person was your friend, if that person was ever your friend, why would you ever say that to them? And
right.
all these people, and you could have inboxed them and said, you know, I didn't like this or something like that. But you just, you know, worldwide, everybody just saw what you said to your so-called friend. And then some things I see people maybe post like, well, if you don't like this and if you don't believe that, then you got a problem with me. And I'm like, whoa. So you just basically came up with a fight. What is, you know, people are hurting. Do you not understand that these different groups of people are hurting? So why are you coming here with aggression towards them to make them attack you?
Yeah, I think the reason people do that, Erica, and that's a great point, because it's very, very valid, and I'm seeing it more frequently now, is that people are already they have this distorted worldview, right? Like when you mentioned like going to Walmart and feeling fearful, and you're like, oh, everybody's here, like people chilling, right? Like, but like, why am I so scared, right? Like,
all good.
Like you're not the only one, right? Like people go down these rabbit holes in social media and on television, watching the news stations, and like the picture that they paint for us about what the world is like out there is a very fearful picture, right? So it activates your amygdala into fight or flight, a fearful response. When we have fear, we trigger uncertainty, right? And then we go into the world and we don't want to make eye contact with people. Right. And then we read comments and we're like, instead of reading like my opinion is different, we read you suck. Right. So it's like that's not what they're saying. Like imply good intent, you know, don't put such a nasty tone on everybody's voice when you read comments, you know, like they're not necessarily saying their comment at you personally. They're just saying a comment. And everybody's entitled to their opinion and is in a different place in their personal life journey and in their personal growth experience. So if they are in a place where they are being, you know, whatever we want to call it, because whatever we call it is our judgment anyway. So how about let's check our own judgment too, right? So but let's just say it's not nice, right? Like, can we look at that with compassion and empathy and say like, oh, right, like hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
People.
Right. And that person is in a different place in their life experience. They're still learning, they're still growing, you know, they need support. And I know that's not easy when we are reactionary by any way. But when we get grounded and expanded in love and compassion, then that's so much easier to do.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to kind of give that benefit of the doubt and be like, hey brother, hey sister, like,
Yes.
this is how you're hurting by your comment.
Yes. Yeah.
How can
Love that language.
You know?
So what are we'll ask Susie. I want to call you Yanni.
What's
the first thing that you do in the morning? Because I see even right now, when I had a full-time job, for my lunch break, I used to go sit at a fountain. It wouldn't even be where I live. I go to somebody else's apartment complex or something. Sit in front of a fountain just to absorb the splashing of the water.
Right,
And then go back to the job because, like you say, my neck is all tense and my neck is hurting now because work or whatever is, you know, driving me, you know, up the wall. What is the first thing you do in the morning to get yourself grounded?
The first thing I do when I wake up is say, thank you. That's the very first thing I say is thank you, universe. That's it. And then I usually go into something like, you know, I'll say, you know, thank you, divine God, universe, and all this other stuff. But I'll just start with my thanks. Like, you know, I'm thankful that I can, you know, walk and talk, that I can see and hear, you know, thankful for, you know, healing, and that, you know, when I heal, my mind, my body and my soul heals. The generations before me and after me heal. My entire DNA structure heals. That I am healing the world around me, that I am healing those that are connected to me and not, or those that are connected to me and have been connected to me. So, you know, present and past. And then I just go into thanking, you know, the universe for everything that I do have and not focusing on what I don't have. So, you know, thank you for the roof that's over my head. You know, thank you for every item that's in my apartment. Thank you for the food and the provision for food, you know, because sometimes we take the littlest things for granted, you know, because we see all that, you know, we may not have, but we miss everything that we do have, like breath of life, you know. So thank you that I'm able to breathe this morning, you know. So
yes,
I go into that edifying the universe and thanking the universe first thing in the morning. And then I typically will come out on my patio and I listen to some inspirational, uplifting music, get me into, you know, that higher vibrational energy. But I've already gotten myself there by meditating and thanking the universe for everything that I have and everyone that I have in my life. And, you know, placing a bubble of protection over myself and my children for those energies that will come, and making sure that the loving energy that I possess is able to penetrate outside of that bubble. So we are protected from the negative energies, and I am putting out the positive energy and the loving energy out into the universe. So I guess just thanking the universe. And then I come out and sit in nature, in silence, with my inspirational music, with my cup of coffee or tea. This week I'm off of coffee. So, you know, it's all about balance for me and moderation, because I find that with balance, you know, so I have my coffee sometimes, I have my tea sometimes, you know, because they're both needed for me, you know. So just creating that balance in every single area of your life, because a lot of people don't realize your relationships, you know, are spiritual, they're mental, they're emotional, it's physical, it's financial, it's relational, you know. And that's the things that I focus on in my self-love program, is that, you know, we have to create a balance in all of those areas, especially with the self. So when you do it with the self, then all of those things begin to line up. Because if you have a problem with your money, something's going on with your relationship with yourself. You know, so you got to get your relationship with yourself in balance and in check first, just like Oriana and Rocky said, because then you're not projecting that energy outwards, because you already know that nothing is outside of yourself. everything is on the inside. So whatever is going on in the inside is going to reflect on the outside of you. So if you got a bad relationship going on with yourself, and if you see a post about something, then automatically you going in, because it's something that still need to be dealt with within yourself. So, you know, it really is important to, like Oriana said, take self-inventory. You got to take self-inventory. It's so easy for us to point that one finger out, but we forget that there's 4 more pointing back at us. We're pointing that one out, and we got all these other ones pointing back at us. You know, there's a scripture in Matthew that says it's so easy for you to see that little speck of sawdust in your brother's eye, but you fail to notice the plank that's hanging out of your own eye. And I'm paraphrasing because I don't know, I don't know a word for word, but you got, your friend got a little speck of sawdust and you pointing it out when you got this huge plank hanging out your eye. So we really do have to make sure before we're saying, oh, that person is full of hate, that person is full of jealousy, that person is this, that person is that. What's going on inside of me that I'm noticing that is in that other person, because it's calling attention to work on it within yourself. And so, you know, you start seeing love within yourself, then I just read an amazing book, and it's by Gabby Bernstein. It's called The Universe Has My Back. And something I've been standing on since I have read that book is lead with love. So today I had an episode where fear was trying to come in, and immediately I was all in this headspace, and I was like, wait a minute, universe. I said, help me, help me, because your girl is going under. Your girl is going under. And it just brought me back to lead with love. So respond in a different way that you have always responded. Don't go back to the normal way that you have responded in the past. Respond from the place of loving energy that you are sitting in today. And so it allowed me to compose, you know, the email that, you know, I was supposed to send out and just say, hey, I'm leaving it in your hands. I said my piece. And then in another situation, to just come from that space of love instead of, you know, I've been the type of person that always wants to assume or accuse. Instead of coming from that space, that energy space, come from the energy of love. And that book has transformed it with, finished the book on the 15th, I think, of May. And within a month, my life has literally transformed.
So good.
2 things I'd like to totally point out on what you just said. I always realize too, like you say, with your finances, or like we're talking about with your business or whatever, if I'm not getting enough sleep, if I'm not drinking enough water, if I'm not meditating, if I see things slipping in life or in business, I know, let me come back.
Yeah.
And that's super important.
Yes.
But the other one, I think I just forgot. So
These are great points.
Totally it's all,
I love it. You guys are so, first off, you guys are super fun to talk to. Thank you. Now we're like going down this rabbit hole, and I want to like talk to more people on the call, because we have a lot of people here. We have Eddie, Rocky, William, Chad, Kendra, Maria, Adrian's been on the Zoom call. We have Seema, Sergio, my friend Bernicia, Vid, welcome to the call. So many people, Idalia, making great comments. Somebody asked about the title for that book again. So if you want to mention it, or Erica, if you can drop it in the comments for people. So you had made this really good point that's like, basically, what is on the inside or the outside is a reflection of what's on the inside.
Always.
Right? And that is such a great point. I mean, that's like an absolute truth in the world of consciousness. I want you guys to like take that principle and expand it to, what do you think? Global consciousness.
Society, yes.
Mass global consciousness, guys. If what's on the outside is a reflection of what is inside, when you look at that within the context of mass consciousness, guys, we got work to do.
Yes, we do.
This world needs a lot of healing. This world needs support. This world needs people who are willing to shine their light, even when we get pushback, even when we get hated on, even when people tell us that we are, you know, talking about things that aren't real or that we shouldn't be talking about, right? Like whatever that pushback is, like knowing like that's the price that I'm willing to pay.
Yes.
When I step into personal responsibility for the role I play
Yes.
as being a member of a mass global consciousness.
Yes.
Pushback.
Yes.
About to make me run down the street right now.
We're here to wake people up, right? Susie, right here, girl. We're here to wake people up.
And I just want to say,
Kendra, Kendra on the call.
But I want
Kendra is a
to
major
tell
healer.
you this.
William is a healer.
You wouldn't be doing it if, you know, because you know you're going to get pushed back. At this point, you already know. Ain't no turning back. There is no turning back. We're going forward. So no matter how much pushback you get, you already know that that's that healing energy that's coming up, because you are a light bringer. The light brings out the darkness. And that darkness, when you come around it, it's fighting. It's fighting because and what I do is I take a step back and say, remember, you were at that point too. You were running from your own light. So you have to have that compassion and that empathy, knowing that you too have been there. You know, so but yeah, you have to remember that you too ran from that light within you. You know, so people are going to run from that light that's in you because it's calling to that darkness to come up out, you know, come up out of that hate, come up out of that jealousy, come up out of that envy, come up out of that contempt, you know, so.
Well, and at the end of the day, right, like that's our inner child.
Yes, yeah.
Right? Yes. Our inner child right now is scared, is worried, right? Our inner child right now needs soothing, needs love,
nurturing,
right? Yeah. If my adult can soothe my inner child, then my adult can help soothe another person's inner child and bring them into their adult as well, right? And then we can continue healing in that way, and we can spread healing, we can spread love, we can spread understanding, we can spread compassion, and we can create unity. But the problems that we're facing right now as a society and as a global community, and when we look at mass consciousness, cannot be solved without love and compassion or unity. You know, right? And it can't be solved through division, because at the end of the day,
literally the answer to everything.
It is the answer to everything, because we're one. Yeah. Right. And I think Rocky and Susie mentioned that earlier, right? We are all one. We're one and the same. You are me and I am you.
Yes.
Right. I mean, I
don't even let my clients say, and my clients talk about everybody against racists, and I'm like, no. And they're like, oh, I get it. Everyone against racism. And I'm like, even at that, it's like everyone for love. Yeah. Everyone for love. When you hate your brothers, you fucking hate yourself. When you hate your sisters, you hate yourself. Yeah. And you just see so many people. There was a guy that went off on me the other day on my timeline, like on Facebook, and that's my business, right? So this dude is just lashing out political post. And I told him, I was like, brother, I want people to have an open discussion here. I want you to be in your heart. I said, but this is not a place to vent about politics. We're looking for solutions. Right. That's what this is for. So I deleted some of the things that he put on there, and he showed up in my personal messenger on Facebook Messenger, and he was doing the same stuff. And I listened to him, and I was like, I understand so many of the problems, and I agree with many of the problems you're talking about, but I'm going to reiterate, I'm focused on the solution, brother. And I gave him the significance and certainty that he was looking for. His energy was like an animal that was wounded in a trap. If there's a raccoon in a trap outside, you go up to that thing. That thing's going to bite you if you try to let it out of the trap. Yeah. So you have to earn this thing's trust, and you have to, go up there. And I was just, I gave him the validation that he wanted, but I didn't validate the pattern. I validated him with love, human to human connection. As soon as he started talking about, I apologize for being a shit on your timeline, I've had a really rough time, blah, 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 blah. And he started getting vulnerable. Then he went back into it again, right back to the pattern. He got uncomfortable, being a human with me. So he started going back into the pattern.
That's it. Because you brought that up earlier. Why is the person speaking in the first place? They just want to be validated and acknowledged.
Yes. Yep. And we got to point that inwardly too. Like when we sometimes notice that you're not just in your pattern when you're angry or when you're projecting, but also when you're avoiding. if you're deflecting or avoiding, you know, you're pushing down, you're not validating your own inner child. Right. So it's important to take that perception and point that high-powered perception in the mirror too. And so many people do like Band-Aid stuff. Like, I know how to manage my state. I know how to like neutralize my nervous system and not react. And that's good. That's better than projecting, but it's still detrimental to yourself. You know, you need to talk to your inner child, like, hey buddy, how you doing? You know, whatever you would call a 5-year-old.
Yeah. Eddie made a great point in the chat. Eddie, do you want to say that out loud for the group, or are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was just mentioning that, you know, outward expressions of anger is typically just a reflection of those internal challenges that we're feeling. And I think if we take an opportunity to really observe those behaviors that another person is expressing and show empathy towards them, as opposed to, you know, meeting them with equal level of anger and frustration, then we're more empathetic to the situation and we're treating the action and not necessarily the person. And I think ultimately we have to be purposeful about expressing love. And I think many times people just wonder, what can I do as an individual? I'm not an activist. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a life coach. You know, what can I do to make a difference? And I think the answer is very simple, and that's express love to each other, because it's very contagious. Yes. And I think if we take a time to actually spread love, pay it forward, you know, show each other that we care and we see them, then people are more apt to actually carry that on into their relationships with other people that they interface with. So I think the answer is very simple. If we take the time to really look at the fundamental of what's missing here, and it's love, you know, so we have to start expressing that and perpetuating that out in the world.
Yeah. And
I love your hair today too, Eddie. Good stuff.
It took a lot of work to get it this way.
Yeah.
I tell people that all the time, and you know, in my business, that when you love yourself, you don't realize that it has a domino effect. So, you know, you don't have to reach 1 million people by loving yourself. You can love yourself. And if you have children, guess what? You have just created I have 2 kids. So yes. You have just taught two humans to love themselves, to spread that love as they go forth. Yes. And guess what? They'll show it to the next person. If you have a significant other, the more that you show that love to that person, they'll continue to show it to other people. And I love what Eddie said. You have to be purposeful about love, about showing love. Just like when Erica said that she was in a space of fear. No, you got to be purposeful and say, nope, I got to step out of this fear and show love. No matter what they're showing me, I'm going to show them who I am, because, you know, I'm a firm believer in that karma, and that what I put out affects me. So I'm only putting out love. How you treat me has no bearing on me. You know, your actions have no bearing on me, but what I put out to you is what I'm trying to receive back. And so I'm trying to be purposeful about putting out love into the universe, into this energy space.
Yeah, that's mindfulness, and that is mindfulness and personal responsibility at the end of the day.
Yeah,
right? Absolutely.
Authenticity, and, you know, understanding where your center is. Like a lot of people, some of my clients will say, oh, I know this stuff. And you can see the self-judgment, but it's like, they think that they're getting knocked off center, but what's really going on is they don't know where their center is. Their center isn't the love, because right now they're centered in fear instead of centered in love. So when they go back to their comfort zone, which really isn't that comfortable, you know, they have the opportunity to move to their nature. Your nature is different than your center. We all have an emotional home. Believe it or not, I used to be drug of choice anger, like you wouldn't even believe. I know anger better than anybody, man. But now I've taken that same power. Like if you take fear, if you take strength, which is a major component of my personality, and you run it through the lens of fear, it looks like force. It looks like you're trying to control something. I will be heard. I will be understood. If you take that same strength and you run it through the lens of love, it's just like, boom, people trust it. It becomes a massive, trustworthy energy. You're a believable human. To me, the most important thing about love is authenticity. It's like, I read a book a long time ago, Agmandino, The Greatest Miracle in the World. And he was talking about looking at people and telling them that you love them with your eyes, instead of just, And it's just a way to portray. You don't even have to say the words. Like I'll look at people and I'll connect with them so deeply and read their energy. And I'm just like, I will look at people. I won't say it with words, but I'll be like, it'll get better, brother. I see your pain. I send you love. I'm doing this to people, almost every person I see all day. Like anytime I'm conscious, certainly. Like I do go into my moments of unconsciousness as well, but that's what my alarms are for. They're not to remind me to do this, that, or the other. Those are consciousness reminders. How would you treat a $5 million racehorse? Ooh, I guess I need to have a salad for dinner and make sure I haven't hit the gym yet. There's a reason I put that alarm at 6 o'clock at night, so that it's a reminder. If I had a horse, I would take him out. I wouldn't cage him up in a chair and work him all day, every day. I would let that beautiful, majestic creature go out and do a nature hike. You know, I'd take him on the nature trails and boom, there I go. That's how I make sure I get my workouts in. You know, that's like a major thing that I do. And I have different ones that, you know, go to different parts of my personality and what I want to do in life. I also put in songs that remind me, like very powerful anchors. The last 2 alarms of the day they say for her. And then it's songs that I always envisioned I would share this with my wife one day. That's part of, I literally go into my relationship vision when those ones go off. That's my last 2 alarms of the night, my 9 o'clock and my 11 o'clock. But just a different consciousness check-in as the day goes on. Am I taking my gift for granted? What would I do to shift the lives of millions of people? You know, those are some of the alarms that I have, and it just keeps me checked in and keeps me in my heart where I want to be, you know? And if things are going already really, really well, I say, hey, how could it go even better? Oh, I notice I get in touch with my body. Like, okay, so I notice I'm a little dehydrated. I'm going to get some water. I'm already having water. You know what? I need to put some lemon in the water, or maybe I'm going to turn on the essential oils diffuser. I just look around for like what could literally be better right now. You know what? I'm going to take a 20-minute break and call one of the humans that I love, you know, something like that. What would most fill me up, you know? So I check in like that literally once an hour between 7 in the morning and 9 o'clock at night. Then I skip the 10 o'clock alarm and just have one more. So yeah.
So we talked about the morning, we talked about alarms throughout the day, taking breaks, nature calls, things like that. Ariana, what about before bed at night? Something you could do to settle yourself down?
Yeah, your evening routine is probably just as important as your morning routine. They're connected, right? And also your evening routine plays a really significant role in the experience that you have during your sleep process, right? So if your evening routine is off, you're not going to experience as restful sleep as you could. And the 2 most important things about the opportunity to rest is that, one, that's the time that our body takes to heal, but that's also the time that we integrate. Your conscious mind and your unconscious mind are integrating your new learnings, or you're integrating love, you're integrating everything during that time, right? So if you cut that time short or don't give yourself the opportunity to do it, then you cut off your opportunity for your body to heal and for your subconscious and conscious mind to integrate. So I do things personally, like, again, going back to the social media, right? Turn it off. Turn off every screen at least 2 to 3 hours before you plan to go to bed, right?
Yeah, you need a buffer.
That blue light is detrimental to your vision. It releases hormones in the brain that tell the body that it's not time to go to bed yet. It actually tells, the hormones tell your body that it's daytime and time to wake up, rather than it's time to rest. So turn off screens 2 to 3 hours in advance, and go through an actual routine, right? Like, at this time, I'll start to do these series of things, right? Starting with whatever it is that makes sense for you. I'll read a book, I'll shower, I'll, turn down my bed, I'll have a cup of tea, like whatever that process is for you, in whatever order makes sense for you to engage in a wind down. You can also engage in some mindful movement that will help your sleep routine and help you have a more restful evening. There's a lot of things that you could do. Just don't not do it, right? And if you're gonna skip any part of it, like have already an idea in your mind of like how you're going to catch up on that thing. Because if your routine includes an evening of like reading for 20 minutes, then if you can't do that, then figure out when tomorrow you're going to read for 20 minutes, right? So you can stay on your routine. And because routines are really like they're fundamental, to our ability to stay in a headspace where we reduce our cognitive overload, right? When you're on cognitive overload because you're trying to remember too many things and you're trying to balance, as we all are, you're trying to balance a lot of different things. We have the personal setting as well as the a social setting that we're operating within. There's a lot of stressful factors in both. Actually, Will taught me this. Thank you, Will. When you're on cognitive overload, you miss valuable opportunities to be present. Right?
Ooh, presence. Talk about
that. we haven't even touched being present, right?
Multitasking so much you can't even be in the conversation.
Right. You end up in cognitive overload means you're in overwhelm. You're in stress, which means your brain is releasing stress hormones, right? Adrenaline and cortisol, which are super detrimental for the body, especially long term, for our organs, for the nervous system. It means that you are lacking clarity, right? For many of the people on here that are small business owners and professionals, I think that probably sums up 100% of the people on here, right? If you're in cognitive overload and you don't have clarity, right, you're probably staring at your computer screen at like a less than 50% productivity rate for most of the day, right? Which is not acceptable when you need to be producing and you need to be in the space where you need to be in service to an audience, right? As particularly for those of us where being in service to our audience means being visible in the world, right? So we look tired, we look run down, our energy reflects that, and then the folks that we are here to serve can feel that and see that, in our faces and in our energy space. So going through that routine in the evening is super important, and again in the morning, right? Like give yourself a routine. Lay things out, create a plan, write down your goals, write down the things you have to do, but also like stay mindful of not just like tasks, but like stay mindful of being present in every task and in every interaction. And
so you guys have a huge amount of knowledge, a huge amount of separate experience. What is it that gets people addicted to notifications?
Well, I mean,
because you're constantly checking, even if you have the alarm off, even if you have the ringer off, you still check. Like you get into a habit of check Facebook, check Google, check Instagram, check, and it's kind of takes over.
Yeah, that's something to look at. It's like everything people do is to meet their needs. So if you're checking, you're on a low level, probably meeting your need for love and connection. Your inner child thinks it's meeting its need for love. Oh, someone's reaching out to me. But truthfully, when you're in the inner child space, you're more looking for significance and certainty. You're looking for validation by something other than yourself. You're looking for external validation. So you're meeting your need for significance and certainty. That's how we become addicted to external validation. That's how we become addicted to our victim stories. It's our identity. Like when these people are arguing online, they're not really arguing with another human. If you could see them, if they were talking to each other, when people start talking like this, they're not talking to you, they're talking at you. That's being in a trance. That's a trance-like state. That's the trance that's being created by all of this, like Oriana was referring to earlier. Like you can literally see when people, they're not making eye contact, and they're certainly not making soul contact with you. And it's part of the trance that we go into. And one other thing I would like to add to the nighttime routine, this is lending to what Oriana was talking about earlier. You are always present to something. And I teach my clients the difference between scattered energy and clean energy. The difference between, or the opposite of clean energy is scattered energy. It's not dirty energy, it's scattered energy. And when you get scattered, you can get into dirty places. You can also be frustrated, overwhelmed, all this other stuff. But one of the things that I use with my clients to bring them to presence at the end of the day is they do like a gratitude journal for themselves. I call it a pride journal. Like, what did I do today that looked like Rocky Adams? That was something that was uniquely this handsome ass bald headed dude. And that is how I talk to myself. And I am partly joking when I say that, but make no mistake about it, I'm serious about that too, because I'd say this to my clients. I'm like, I'll answer the phone. What's going on, handsome? Or, hey, beautiful, how are you today? I literally talk to my people this way, and I mean it. But But handsome isn't just like, how do you look? It's like, who are you? You know, who are you as when I used to coach football, who are you as a man? I don't want to know who you are as an athlete. We're up by 4 touchdowns. Who the fuck are you, bud? Show me who you are as a man. Show up. Don't just show up. Show up. And I'm like talking to him. Who are you as a human? And at the end, I connect them to each other. Like, look into the eyes of your brother. He's just as tired as you. He's just as. So I'm like connecting them to something bigger than themselves, but also letting them know that they're a huge part of this. You're all feeding from each other's energy. Literally, like the success that I've had with kids before I was ever a coach was literally, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. We won. I was in Houston, Texas, where 225 kids try out for football. We lost 1 game in 2 years, you know? We played 2 games a year on turf. I'm saying this for the guys because I know that they will connect to that. But it's like, you can connect to yourself like this with this nighttime journal. Like, I don't care if all you did was make customer service from Verizon laugh their ass off. I don't care if you were smiling so big and you were so connected to love that your smile was just impacting and infecting other people when you're in Walmart. You know, what was uniquely you that nobody else would have experienced it the exact same way that you did? How did you do that today? How did you love? Yeah, because our personality is what our love looks like. When we're, you know, everybody's cool when things are going well. Who are you when shit hits the fan? You know, that's when the inner child comes up, and that is exactly how well you can control your emotions, right there in a nutshell.
That's awesome,
like that's
Rocky.
that's
Thank
the
you.
difference. But yeah, you're very welcome, Oriana.
That's awesome. There, Joseph made an awesome, really, really insightful comment in the chat, Erica, to your question about what gets us addicted to these notifications, right? And personally, I turn them off. I have, I don't have any notifications that actually make a sound on my phone. And I have very few, like the few that I actually need to be aware of. It just brings up the dial. But either way, right? I agree. It's addictive. So Joseph says, let's see here, it's classical conditioning, and basically you get a reward. Yeah, Pavlov's dog, right? You get a reward every time that red badge comes on, right? I think for some reason, some people, right, like probably actually associate that red badge reward with like love and attention, right? And approval. And if we have our love, attention, and approval like based on how many badges or how many likes we're getting on some of these posts, like yes, that this is very detrimental for our mental health. Further, Joseph,
I know I get no likes on LinkedIn, and it bothers me.
There
you go. There you go.
It's like, so nobody's paying attention.
Yeah, thank you for that share, by the way. Thank you for that, because I agree. It's even the most like conscious of us, right, tend to like look at a post and be like, why aren't people interacting the way they did last time? Like, that's not hard to go there. So Joseph also says phones were made to be addictive. A lot of money was put into research to get us hooked. I totally believe that, Joseph.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, this is an industry. A $billion industry, right? When we're talking about phones and apps and all the in-app purchases and things like that. It's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I could also relate that to, Oriana, is if you ever gone to the casino boat or play a slot machine, they have those wonderful noises, cling, 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 or the little games on the phone. And it's like, my mom plays hers full blast. Like, you could be in another room down the hall and it's like, cling, cling, cling. You can hear it. Those little noises are addictive.
A lot of that too is very addictive, but a lot of that is too, a lot of people want to hear that sound to drown out the noise, the thought that's going on in their minds. So if they can constantly, you know, get those pings and hear that game and get all that other stuff, then guess what? They don't have to hear them, those internal thoughts that are going on. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, I was going to talk about winding down. I usually put my phone on do not disturb at 8 p.m.
Yeah, do not disturb. Yeah.
Don't disturb me anytime from 8 p.m. until 8:30 a.m. in the morning, unless you're on my favorites list, of course. And then that's, you know, emergency only. But, you know, I'm shutting myself down, just like Oriana said, you know, 2 to 3 hours before you really, you know, physically get into that space. And it's so very important to have some kind of morning routine and evening routine, even if it's just a minor, you know, routine, just to, you know, wind yourself down from everything, that has happened from the day. So
that time
to
decompress. Yeah.
So addictive. It's, and I said that, and I wrote that down before we started, that, social media can become very addictive, just like any other addiction. Shopping, alcohol, drugs, nicotine. It's just like another drug. And once you begin to learn that these things do not have power over you, and begin to pull back your power from that source, because you have the power. You can choose to connect or disconnect. You can pull the plug at any time you choose to. And so it's just, being very mindful of pulling the plug and knowing when it's time to pull the plug, because you can get caught down the rabbit hole. There have been times I have found myself on for 2 hours and wondered, where did my 2 hours go? I posted what I needed to post on my business page, and then I found myself scrolling and never came back out of that hole.
Yeah, it's a relationship, right? It's a relationship. Like oftentimes, like how we do anything is how we do everything. So if we don't have boundaries in our relationships in real life, we probably don't have boundaries in our relationship with social media, right? Sorry.
Literally.
Sorry to say so, but
to your point too.
That way.
Oh, I'm sorry, honey.
Go ahead.
It literally is a drug, though. Like if you read any of like Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza's work, your neurotransmitters literally are drugs. Like we are all addicted to drugs, and we're all self-medicating. And when you get addicted to the love drugs instead of the like Oriana was talking about, adrenaline and cortisol. It's a much healthier high for society too.
Yeah, that's a great point, Rocky.
Divine love is the best drug. Divine love is the best
exactly.
But the difference is freedom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because what that is actual freedom versus being enslaved.
Yes.
Honey, that's how I teach it too. And the reason that it's freedom is because love is who we are. It's our nature.
Yes.
When I teach the vibrational scale, you look at the vibrational scale, and it's like skinny in the middle. It's shaped like an egg timer. It's like fat at the top and skinny at the bottom. There's big energy at the bottom, so you can create a lot with big energy. There's big energy at the top, but it's like what feels right. That is not just the vibrational scale. That's your emotional guidance system. That is your compass. So what I have my clients do is I send all of my clients in their intro kit a copy of the Passion Planner. And on the inside of it, there's it's really cool. But anyway, there's a place where you can take notes in there. And I have them write big love at the top and big fear at the bottom. And everything in between is like smaller fear, bigger fear, bigger fear, bigger fear, bigger fear. And then all the emotions at the top are big love. Then I also have them right at the top, your nature. And then at the bottom, fighting your nature. One of the books that I have them read is Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. That's what that whole book is about.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like, your nature, fighting your nature, big love, fighting our big fear. And then I have them put on the top, I have two other things that I have them right now, just drawing a blank right now. I've been a little bit spent energetically, and also I don't know if I'll get another chance to talk. So I just wanted to say that I love you guys, man. There's been so much clean energy here.
Right,
and
amazing.
The biggest way that I see this is like everything I've been able to say. I feel like you guys have received every ounce of love that I've given on this call. And it's brilliant. It's really good. That's a form of intelligence for real. Like ability to receive love is a form of intelligence.
Oh my
and
gosh.
that's
100%.
I use GPS driving to the grocery store, man. I mean, there are areas that I'm lacking, I promise you. But
oh my gosh. So I was gonna end with this. I'll let you guys do your final note. I know one thing that I do at night is I turn on the affirmations and sleep with them. And I notice that I do feel really good when I get up in the morning, and then I start up on social media again. So
I saw your late night post the other night. It's because I was awake too. Yeah. I gotcha.
Definitely something. You got to get more rest, more putting more into the emotional bank account, more deposits, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Positive. And I'll let you two ladies wrap it up with your final note.
Gosh, I would say, gosh, like pull it back, right? Like just like pump the brakes on this need to be out there in everybody else's business and what everybody else is doing and what they're saying. Pump the brakes on needing to make other people wrong and prove that you're right. You know, like just turn inward, look inside, you know, and meet what's there with love and compassion and empathy. And then you can show up in the world and actually be heard, right? Because as long as we're trying to make people wrong or trying to show them that their way of thinking or feeling or believing is that they need to reconsider, then we're not operating in the love space. And we're still in fighting mode, right? Like there's plenty to create. There's nothing to fight, you know, and start with creating from within.
And William mentioned breathing.
Great point.
I kind of consider that with the breaks, because someone told me you could use the iPhone watch and be like, okay, so a friend of mine, we decided to hold each other accountable. If you think of me, I tell people, if you think of me, just send me a text and be like, get off of there, put it down. And, you know, then I told her, okay, well, I'll send her a message and be like, take 5-minute break off the computer, go breathe. So, Susie?
Yeah. I just want to just remind everyone that although we're the same, we're different, you know, and as long as we can learn to respect our differences, because we have different opinions, we have different personalities, we're the same soul, but we have all these differences. And I think that what it is a lack of respect for those differences. That, you know, if God, the universe wanted robots, then that's what we all would have been. We all would have looked the same. We all would be the same. But when we can learn to value and appreciate the differences in each other, it is a beautiful thing, because like I said earlier, we all add value to each other. As we've seen here on this call, we're getting all these nuggets from different people, different places. And it's like, it's so much love in that. It's so much love in that. Like, oh my goodness, Rocky, you're awesome. Like you said this, and Eddie, oh my goodness, yes, the classical conditioning, you know, because like you forget all of these things that you learned. And it's just like, when we can, you know, as Ariana said, pump the brakes, like take a step back and say, you know, do I really want to be in that space with this person? Because how about if I come from the space of valuing that person and valuing their opinion and listening to what they actually have to say, and listening to myself and resonating with that, you know, just learning to respect each other's differences is what I would say.
All right. I don't know, Rocky, you took over the show. I didn't even know you, but you know, you gotta take over. I gotta let you get
Rocky came in like bam.
I gotta let you get your wrap up. You know you the
I
love.
say, you know, when you're coming from a space of love, respect is just gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? It's like I hear all these people talking about tolerating each other's differences, and the word tolerance, you know, tolerance is like if you work with an annoying employee, you know what I'm saying? But to me, as it pertains to humans, tolerance is like presupposing that someone's doing something wrong. It's like someone's doing something that you have to tolerate. It's like, what the hell kind of shit is that? It's like, there's a huge difference between tolerating and loving and respecting and looking at it through a true lens of love. And a true lens of love is loving yourself first, right? It's like we talk about time management, but energy management is so much more important than time management. Like I could spend this time on so many other things, but I knew this was going to fill my heart up. I don't know any of you guys except for Oriana. I love her with all of my heart, but I knew that the people that are closest to her are going to be I'm going to get something out of this. I'm here because I felt called to it. I listened to my intuition. I listened to my heart, and some beautiful, loving humans on here today, man. You guys are great. It's really good stuff.
Thank you, Rocky. Thanks for coming.
you.
I appreciate you.
So I'm going to share this.
Much.
A man told me, respect my mind. We all are different.
Yes.
We all have a different perspective.
Yeah.
We all have a
Yes.
different human experience.
Yes.
Your experience is not the same as your experience. So respect my mind.
Yes.
So that being said, Ariana, give us a shout how we can find you.
I am on at coachoriana.com. That's my website. I am also on every social media platform. My handle is at Coach Oriana. And you can find me on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I am on Twitter and at Coach Oriana or coachoriana.com. Reach out. You can also send me a message via Facebook Messenger. I'm here to be in service and support.
All right, Susie, how do we find you?
You can find me at on Facebook and YouTube, and it is A Mother's Touch, and A Mother's is with a Z and not S, and it's A Mother's Touch Inc. And I am only on Facebook and YouTube because I primarily work with men and men knowing their self-worth. I also do a radio broadcast every morning from 7 a.m. It's reportradio.com. It's a streaming online radio. So I'm doing that. I guess that's kind of my social media, but I limited it to Facebook and YouTube. Just because I want to focus, I want men. That's who I want, you know. I want men to recognize their worth because they have been told, they've been told all this stuff and to bury their emotions. And I want them to know that it is so healthy for them to feel everything that they're feeling. Like, you don't have to hide it. And it does not mean that you're weak. Because for so many men, they were told that they were, weak or punks or fags if they, express their emotions. So I just really want to get them out of that space and show them that they are deserving and worthy and that their feelings matter and they deserve to be taken care of too, just like we do. They need their self-care. They need their self-love, because that's how they're going to vibrate in their higher vibrational energy of love. And because I think a lot of this stuff that we're dealing with is masculine aggression. Like it's so much masculine aggression. And so when they learn to tap into that energy space and that divine king within them, then they realize that, you don't have to exert that stuff,
It's so funny that you say divine king, because on the screen
yes,
right
they're
now,
divine king. Yes, they are.
We're talking about the divine king tomorrow. We're going to talk to Thursday night at 7 p.m. the author of the Black Pharaoh, Mr. Emmanuel Kulu. 10 years of African studies. He has a podcast. And he is amazing. His studies into African history and knowledge of the Black Pharaoh. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be amazing. Yes. And if you want to reach me, the First Lady Erica, my website is thefirstladyerica.com. Same thing with my email, firstladyerica@gmail.com. Also, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, all at the First Lady. Your health is your wealth, people. And so these ladies and gentlemen here to talk about your mental health. I can help you with your financial health. So if you need anything to connect you with, insurance and what to do with your 401k now that times are shaky, how to put money aside for your children, and how to take care of your parents, their finances, wills, preps, and, trusts and things like that. Just holler at me, the First Lady Erica. All right.
I forgot to mention
everybody.
My email address is amotherstouch@gmail.com. I'm still working on my website. I got it up, but I got to get it connected and all that other stuff. So.
All right. Have a great night, everybody.
I enjoyed you guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.